On This Is HCD, we believe design should make the world better. That's why we've partnered with Sutsu, a brand built on slow, conscious fashion and complete transparency in how clothing is made. Every item in our collaboration uses high-quality, eco-friendly fabrics and ethical production. And because responsibility matters, Sutsu offsets the full impact of creating each piece through their partners at climate change. If you want clothing that reflects your values, explore our collaboration with Sutsu and join us in choosing better, longer-lasting design. Click the link in the show notes to get your discount code and start your journey. Let's get back to this episode.
10x your service design offering with Smapply. Take 20% off any order with This Is HCD 20 off. Let's superpower you and your design team's potential. Sign up at smapply.app. Enjoy the episode from your friends at Smapply, helping support This Is HCD podcast.
Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of This Is HCD. My name is Jerry Scullion and I'm a human-centered service design practitioner based in the beautiful city of Dublin, Ireland. Today on the show, I'm delighted to welcome someone I've wanted to have on the show for a very long time, and that's Lucy Kimbell. We actually walked the Royal Mile in Edinburgh in this episode. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, jump over to YouTube if you want to see the beautiful surrounds of this journey of us walking through Edinburgh City together in a little bit of the rain, but it'll bring a little bit of an extra dimension to the conversation. So Lucy is an engineer turned artist turned academic, a long-time observer of how design actually lands in government. Now, you might have seen her on the panel around UX Government's recent Public Design Evidence Review. So in this conversation, we get practical and we get real about three things that I want you to listen out for. Number one is public design, what it actually is. Now, Lucy helps untangle the mess of terms of policy design, service design, digital and content, and why public design centers legitimacy and accountability to citizens, not just delivery metrics. Number two, the conditions for good service design in tough times. We talk inclusion and accessibility, but also the uncomfortable bit most conferences skip, politics. And how power, ideology, and today's AI silver bullets shape what's possible, and what scaffolding leaders need so design doesn't get crushed by austerity or tech solutionism, should be. Careers with impact, that's the third piece, okay? From appropriate technology and feminist theatre to business schools and labs, Lucy has done an awful lot in her career, and Lucy distills these three habits: curiosity, experimentalism, and critical reflection. They're the three pieces that Lucy calls out in this episode, and really how this helps designers work upstream with policy and senior leadership. It's a thoughtful, grounded, and packed with takeaways that you can use on any given day. If you do enjoy this episode, please do follow the show, tap a star or a like, whatever it is on your podcast app, and leave a review if you can. 5 words is perfect. On YouTube, hit a like and subscribe, ring the bell, and don't miss what's next. If you're around the This Is HCD website, please do sign up to our newsletter. It helps you stay informed about all things design leadership. Before we do that, let's jump straight into this episode where we walk around Edinburgh Castle. I know it's going to be a beautiful one for you. It's been a beautiful one for me getting to know Lucy. Let's jump straight in. We're in Edinburgh, and you were on the panel the other day, which I saw about public design.
Yeah, the Public Design Evidence Review, published by the UK government in July.
And how did you get involved with that? Like, what's the approach?
Maybe just wind back.
Yeah.
For more than 10 years, there's been an intensification of design capabilities in government, often tied to digital services and services, but then bringing design in its various guises into the policy making. And an early example of that was the Danish unit, Mind Lab. In 2014, the UK government set up as a really quite small experiment policy lab. And I had the privilege of working in there for a year part-time through a research fellowship. Nice. So I've been sort of tracking and paying attention to this emergence, and zoom forward in 2023, Andy Knight, who convenes the policy design community, which is a cross-government network, basically, of various people doing design activities in government-related roles and local government and public services in the UK. Initiated something called the Public Design Evidence Review, and that's what was published in July, with various teams involved. And so some of us who were involved in it spoke at the conference on whatever the first day was, to just share with the broader audience, because many of the people are at this conference here in Edinburgh.
Yeah, absolutely. So can I just take an even further step back in time? Well, what did you study in university?
So I studied engineering design and appropriate technology.
Okay. What's appropriate technology?
Well, it's the things that we now think are essential for an ecological future, such as wind power, solar power, and so on. But back in the 70s and 80s, that was more the sort of obscure fringes of engineering, which I relished in. But I wasn't a very good engineer, and I spent most of my time doing experimental feminist theatre, and the rest of my life is trying to join those two things up.
Yeah, because I know you've dabbled. Well, so say dabbled. You've got an extensive art career as well, and I've looking through your website and exploring all of that as well. So, how would you identify? Like, if you're at a dinner party and someone says, "Lucy, what do you do?"
I'd say I have tried to understand, make sense of the world, explore the world, and used various media and formats at different points, to share understanding and experiences and connect with people. So that's really a vague answer. I mean, right now I'm an academic. For the last 20 years I've been an academic rooted in design, but I was in a business school for 5 years, so I got exposed to world-class organisation studies, and that had a knock-on effect. It made me take research very, very seriously.
I mean, you've worked in loads of different institutions.
That's because I couldn't get a job, Jared.
Gerald.
No. Jerry.
Call me Jerry.
Sorry. It's just that Irish thing. I want to call you Jared.
Give me my full name. So you're primarily you're involved in policy design, and obviously you wrote a paper a number of years ago. And I guess what I'm interested in, there's a lot of people here who listen to my podcast specifically who are looking to inform greater impact. Okay, they might have studied design, and when they're interfacing with other parts of government, they feel this kind of level of like, oh, I don't know much about policy, and they're kind of learning that might be the right way to explore to get greater impact. How did you navigate that? You're an engineer, but you've worked in academia for 20 years, I think you just said. How did you get to that point where you're suddenly collaborating on these massive reports and policy design?
Being curious, being nosy.
I think we go up here, don't we?
And here we are in absolutely beautiful Edinburgh, where it's only raining a little bit.
That's all right. You're almost Irish, as we've determined.
No, I have the
water,
documentation.
The water soaks into our skin. We don't feel rain.
It does. It just disappears off me. I got this job at Said Business School at 2005. So in a business school where I was a design research fellow, which was very unusual and still remains very unusual, and then taught my version of design thinking, service design mashup on the MBA for about 15 years.
Wow.
And so I've actually ended up teaching design, or something like design, more to managers, leaders, entrepreneurs, civil servants than to designers at this point. So I've had a privilege of tracing that journey of design kind of going up the value chain, or sort of becoming recognised by leaders and entrepreneurs and activists as like has some special things that it can bring to change, to action, to
in government and local governments as well. Do we go up this road here? Or
yes,
should we go up the steps? Which do you prefer being out of breath on?
This one. It's quite steep at the end.
That's all right. People will know how aerobic.
And this is the National Gallery, where I think the Gormley show is. There it is, Goldsworthy, not Gormley. Beg your pardon.
This way, I think you were talking about going to this.
So this is sort of environmental art. Yeah, look, 50 years. So I'm going to go see that show later.
So you're also an artist, right? You don't become and stop. You still are.
Well, I studied an engineer, so I didn't really I didn't have art school legitimacy, although since I've now worked in Central St Martin's for 10 years, maybe some of that's rubbed off.
So walk me through your art as well before we come back onto policy and service stuff?
So after my degree, where I discovered I really wasn't a very good engineer, but I was very interested in technology and society and environment.
Right.
I lived in a couple of different places. I lived in Barcelona for a year.
Nice.
I lived in Warsaw, Poland for 2 years because it was that post-communist moment, and I wanted to see what happened, and ended up living there for 2 years and running club nights.
Nice.
Yeah. And doing journalism.
I'll have to try and bring that back around the conversation to the club nights. I think that might be a nice way to...
No, I just do that in my kitchen and embarrass my teenager.
Yeah, but never he's a good. All right.
So I'd experienced the world, right, as a privileged white person from Britain. I'd spent a year in Sudan teaching English. I spent a year in Barcelona basically teaching English and hanging out. And I spent 2 years in Poland. And then moved to London and worked at the BBC World Service for a bit and had a hunger for something more and something creative, and ended up doing a master's at an art school within Middlesex University, where they taught us to program in C. So it was a very unusual course, which the premise was, if you're an artist, you need to understand your tools and craft your tools, not just use some software tools that someone else has created. And those days it was Photoshop 2.
I vaguely remember it too as well. But
so we had to program in C too, and it gave me a deep understanding, well, I don't know about deep, but some understanding of computation. And so then I was much more involved in digital technology development. And in 1996, we didn't call it user experience design.
Yeah, HCI was it?
It was the early days of HCI. And so I did that for a while. Somewhere between the art and the trying to make a living by doing what we now call, web strategy or UX design, but we didn't call it that then.
Right.
And then I went through that for a few years, and then thought, why are these projects with so many millions of pounds churning out rubbish stuff, right? Why is innovation and transformation so hard? Why don't I try to go to academia to find out what's going on in these kind of projects? So then I ended up in academia and discovered that, they have a lot of theories and concepts and knowledge about change, about the world, about people.
Is that when you first got exposed to what you probably call, in a broader term, design thinking?
That term, I didn't come across that till maybe 2005, when I already had the job at Oxford, where I rocked up as this sort of weird artist, really, and I'm amazed they gave me the job. But my job was to be in a business school and do something around design, which, quite frankly, I didn't know much about the mainstream of design. I knew the weird fringes, which intersected with art, because I'd been teaching at the Royal College.
But just say they rocked up as a weird...
Yeah, I applied for the job.
I know you applied for the job, but what do you think they saw, and what do you think they saw in you to give you that opportunity?
Curiosity. Experimentalism, and a critical thinking.
And do you think that still applies today? Like, it sounds to me like those three pieces are still one of the main things that you look for.
I think anyone who's a serious researcher should have those things, but actually a serious designer should, right? Curiosity, critical
100%.
thinking, to understand critically and reflect on the conditions, which was a bit coming out at the conference, but could have come out more. Like, what are the conditions that create the opportunities or block the conditions for good design, co-creation, meaningful addressing of today's challenges, right? So what are the conditions? And for that, really, you need a quite sociological, I would say, or anthropological understanding. So design...
To trace it back.
And a understanding of the worldview. Like, what is the worldview? What are the ideologies? What thinking is present? What assumptions are present? Not just on a project level.
Did you know that 95% of our listeners are not subscribed? Help us grow by subscribing or leaving a review. It helps support the independent work that we produce at This Is HCD. Enjoy the rest of this episode.
What can we do in this project over the next year? But actually, how is the world understood? Who has power and agency in that world? What has agency? for example, AI.
Now, Lucy,
Oh,
this was an idea to end at the castle. We're still going to do it, right? But just as a disclaimer,
Yeah.
I might have a heart attack going up these steps. So, if so, I love my wife and I love my children. You carry this camera back and publish it, won't you? You've spent 20 odd years in academia. You're working in policy design. We've spoken about the
I work in the research.
side.
Yeah, I don't do it. I wouldn't claim to do it.
Yeah, but you're still around the world of policy.
Yeah, so that
I mean,
actually to link back to your earlier question. So that report that got launched by the Cabinet Office and the policy profession, which is a civil service, UK civil service capability across government. That report was to try and bring some clarification to the multiple sets of terms that coexist. So there's digital design, there's content design, there's service design, and there's and there's policy design. Like, how do we make sense of all these things? And for design people, you have your club, your crew, your bit of it. But there needed to be some joining up and some more coherence in relation to existing understandings of public administration. So the paper that I contributed to, I'm now getting out of breath.
That's all right. We'll stand here for a minute and catch our breath and we continue.
Is co-authored with 3 professors of political science or various aspects of public administration studies who bring that deeper understanding of government that I don't have. And then we tried to mash up the knowledge to make it useful to create some frameworks and thinking and to synthesize some of the stuff that come out of the civil service's own research.
What are the thoughts from your own perspective of the term public design?
So that term...
Where did it come from?
So during the process of commissioning that research, which included multiple different elements led by Andy Knight in this, who's a civil servant in the UK government, he suggested this term, and I was on the advisory board at that time with with Liz Richardson, who's a professor of, I don't know, politics or something at University of Manchester. Yeah. So we were dealing with the fact that there were all these different bits of terminology, and what was the terminology? Because it isn't just policy design or design 100%. For policy. Yeah. You know, the design of a digital thing is within a policy context, so how to make sense of it. And I do think it was Andy that might have suggested that term, and we debated it and thought, yeah, that probably will work, but there isn't a current definition. So one of the jobs our academic paper is within the wider set of documents is to say, okay, let's try and attempt to first go at a definition. And it's by no means definitive. It's just saying this is what it could be. And one of the differences between, say, public design and design in general, or design that's got a commercial orientation, sorry. Is that a sense of legitimacy, right? To who is the designing and the design? To whom does it have legitimacy and accountability?
And impact.
And but who's and the impact, if the impact is positive or negative, who's it accountable to? Yeah. Right? And so democratic institutions, democratic processes can possibly provide that legitimacy. So that's a word that is in our definition of public design.
Because I know in the audience a lot of people are like, really another term, like, you know, like it's kind of like, I know, how do you solve something like that? Like, you know, there's industries built off certain terminologies.
Well, this design thinking, as you remember, you know, was basically a
okay
term.
To keep going?
I've caught my breath now. Thank you.
Yeah, my heart rate's gone back down to 150.
Yeah, I can actually check mine. I can do live data tracking using my new Apple Watch that my brother gave me.
Oh, nice.
So the terminology, you know, it has fads, right? So design thinking, it actually existed as a term from, say, the 1980s through academic researchers trying to understudy.
You go first there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. You can keep going. We've got this.
So academic researchers trying to capture and define and articulate something distinctive that they saw in designers, professional designers, and how they approach designing. So design cognition would be another term for that. And then in 2005, 6, 7, and then 8, actually, with the publication in Harvard Business Review, one consultancy, IDEO, is trying to go up the value chain and starts using that term as, you know, we're just doing the method and the methodology, rather, with a set of methods, And that's our value proposition.
That's our commercial
And
angle.
so then everyone's talking about design thinking, and it's quite removed from the craft, crafts, plural, of designing and the very specific context in which that has happened.
It's funny because I remember way back at that point being interviewed in Australia, and someone said to me, "Do you do design thinking?" And I go, "What do you mean?" Like, and they go, "Do you do design thinking?" And I go, "I'm a designer."
Yeah.
It was native.
Yeah, exactly.
Experimentation a piece. So that was kind of like the point. It's interesting about public design and that terminology, that it was quite triggering in the conference, where people were saying, actually, you know what, does this add noise or does this add clarity?
Yeah, so we don't know, right? And in 5 years' time, if people are still using the term, maybe there's a shift, right?
Yeah.
And maybe there isn't.
But you got to try, you got to experiment.
Yeah, but there is something about the legitimacy required for public institutions or activists claiming, or civil service civil society organisations doing design work, claiming legitimacy, like, here's a public problem, this is something that needs to be attended to.
Yeah.
We are causing a blockage.
We're not. We're casually walking along the Royal Mile on our way to Edinburgh Castle.
There's some crown jewels in here.
There is.
Yeah. I came here actually to TED. I showed some artwork at TED in 2011, which I'd forgotten.
In here?
Here. And the castle, it being TED and lots of money in the tickets, some of large amount of money. We had a reception in the castle, and we got to go around the royal apartments, I think it was, and saw the Scottish crown jewels.
Can I ask you more around where you see service design now? Because it's really interesting to get your perspective when this report has been dropped. You've got public design. What do you see at the forefront of the things that people within service design should gain more visibility and understanding of?
So, one of the good things about the conference...
Let's go over here, so we're not in the way.
There's a lot of tourists, including us.
Yeah.
One of the good things about the conference is this emphasis on inclusion and accessibility and meaningful co-creation, and the conditions for that because of, for example, accessibility.
Take a seat here and I'll put this down.
Data. Sitting.
You sit on the step. You okay doing that?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Lovely view over there. So that's all great. But what's absent, glaringly absent, and very hard for anyone to talk about, is politics. The moment that we live in, competing ideologies, fragmentation, populism, and not just dismissing populists, from a liberal perspective, which is basically my perspective, liberal stroke communitarian, to dismiss them and go, well, they're populists or worse, fascist. But actually, why is it that some people are so disengaged, distrustful? The institutions, many of the public servants, including those of this conference, are absolutely well-meaning, trying to do their best, but actually public institutions are failing on a large scale, and we haven't even talked about climate. So we're not talking about that at the conference at all, and it's very hard to talk about, other than in more general terms like, design should be...
thinking of all these things. And it's a little bit more... It's like myself, Mark, and Owen from Dublin City gave a talk about service architecture and providing the scaffolding for service design. And I liken it to getting the conditions right for set sailing and being able to have your compass in place so you know where you're going to go. And without that scaffolding, it's very difficult to navigate these tumultuous times. What are your thoughts on moving the dial forward within organisations who are maybe struggling with service design adoption? Leadership are falling behind and starting to just crunch on the numbers, and we fall into that times of austerity where design suddenly has to do more with less. Yeah.
And at a time when AI being pushed by investors is being pushed by tech companies who have something to sell, and For those seeking simple answers, let's
Yeah.
invest in a load of technology to sort of
AI can do our
rapidly.
job.
Yeah, AI can do everybody's jobs and make things better, right? So
Yeah.
we collectively need things to be better, but outsourcing it to technologies and the governance of that, and leaving everything in the control of 4 global companies is extremely worrying.
What's the risk there, though? For like, say, the work that you're doing now with that public design is kind of local government level in the UK, correct?
No, it's national.
It's
The
national.
majority that was definitely national
National.
government. Yeah.
Okay, so leaders in there saying, actually, you know what? There's an opportunity here for AI to disrupt and add value. Was that something that was discussed in the curation of the report? The threat that can give, that kind of weak leadership?
No, not enough, and that's partly because a lot of the work was done in 2023, right?
Before it started.
It was actually published in 2025 because of the slow processes of governments getting numbers of documents together. And also, it was never trying to be definitive and fully comprehensive.
Yeah.
It was actually relatively resource light, even though it's 70 or 80,000 words, so a book size.
It is a book.
It is a book if you print it all out. However, it's actually quite partial, and it's more a stepping stone. Like here's a way of thinking about it, and it's addressed to those senior leaders. And when we had the launch event at UAL, University of the Arts London, in July, we had a minister from the Cabinet Office,
Brilliant.
Georgia Gould MP, who of course has since been moved on in a reshuffle, and a Director General, so a very senior civil servant, Janet Hughes, a Minister for Civil Service. So not Minister, Civil Service Efficiency Reform, these kinds of words is her job title in the Cabinet Office. So to have those two people, the political side and the senior civil servant, and some others speaking, saying, design, this capability is doing all sorts of things already. It's already in lots of pockets, and it has the potential to help government address its problems. And AI is one of the other things, along with other capabilities and resources. So it's just a stepping stone to sort of pull things together and go. But more work will be done by those civil servants. I'm a mere academic on the outside.
No, you're a world-class academic who's produced some stuff, not just blowing smoke, but like myself and Mark, who were doing that talk from Smapley, we've worked together for a long time, and Mark really cares about helping as many organizations as possible, and the journey management side of things. For as long as I've known Mark, he's been trying to pioneer this kind of mindset. What do you think, is there an opportunity there for people within government to lean into this kind of thinking, to be more strategic? Here, you take my coat.
No, I'm not going to take your coat, but we might walk rather than sit here. No, thank you. I don't think it suits me. It's very nice though.
Thanks.
Is it Irish or Scottish? I assume it's Irish.
It's from a boutique called Marks and Spencer's.
Is it called the Marks and Spencer's
Yes,
boutique?
Marks and Spencer's. I got it last week. It's a long story, but I've had to basically procure a range of hats due to some Australian damage to my scalp from the sun. 14 years.
Yes.
So hence why I have to wear it to reduce the UV on my scalp for the time being.
Yeah. I don't think there's a lot of sun in Edinburgh this week.
Like my doctor said, you'd be surprised. Just keep it on for me for the time being.
Okay.
But we'll wrap this up now in a second. What are you working on at the moment? What's exciting, Lucy, for the next?
A book. I'm writing a book about the future of design. Sorry, another book.
Yeah.
So this book, the current title is Futures for Design, Scenarios for Uncertain Worlds. So we talked
not applicable at all to where we're at now. Everything is stable.
So I'm looking at professionalized design, both service design, design thinking, product design. So it's trying to be
nice.
Not too grand and pompous and cover all design globally. That would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
However, trying to identify some of those conditions and some of the dilemmas and possibilities, and map out what those questions are, which include, what's the core of design? So at the moment in 2025, we assume, it's this and this. These are the core things. But that's contingent. That's because of a set of things in contemporary capitalism and the ideologies and the worlds we live in, and how things got to be as they are now. How things might be in 10 years' time. And even if we just reduce it to a sort of global north context, things are changing and will change. So I'm trying to map out what some of those factors might be, and it's through a combination of reading loads of futures reports, about 20 interviews with various design leaders from different contexts, different industries and countries and contexts of work, and a project with some of our graduates, a sort of practice project, and some workshops and something else. Academic literature, like on business models, right? There is academic literature exploring, to look at about business models, 100%. Change, what a profession is. Is design a profession? Not really, or depends how you conceptualize profession. So I'm taking some of this, looking at some of these questions and trying to pull it all together into a useful book.
When's it going to be out?
At the end of 2026, I think.
Okay. Well, I'm the first person to interview when that book comes out, guaranteed,
okay.
right?
All right.
So look, thanks so much for your time today, and I'll put
Jerry.
links to your website, LinkedIn. Are you active on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Any other thing, newsletter? Do you have a newsletter or anything you want to?
Not yet.
Give a shout out? Okay. Well, you can find Lucy on all of those respective channels. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank
and I'll
you.
Chat to you soon.
Thank you.
X your service design offering with Smaply. Take 20% off any order with This Is HCD 20 off. Let's superpower you and your design team's potential. Sign up at smaply.app. Enjoy the episode from your friends at Smaply, helping support This Is HCD podcast.